I'm going to take you to a place today that most Americans have heard the name of, but couldn't tell you the first thing about. It sits on an island in the East River in New York City, between Queens and the Bronx. About 400 acres. You can see it from planes landing at LaGuardia. It's called Rikers, and it might be the worst jail in this whole country. Not a prison, a jail. There's a difference. And that difference is the whole point of why this video matters. Let me explain. A prison is where you go after you've been convicted of something and you do in your time. A jail is where you go before that, where you go when you've been arrested and you waiting for trial, where you go if you couldn't make bail, where you go for short stretches on minor stuff. Most of the people on Rikers right now ain't been convicted of nothing. They are legally still innocent. They are sitting there because they too broke to pay their way out. And it is hell on earth. Federal court called it that. The judge running it now called it unconstitutional danger. That's an actual federal judge saying it, not me. Let me walk you through what makes Rikers what it is. The place holds somewhere around 7,000 people on any given day. It's spread out across multiple jail buildings on the island, connected by one bridge in and out. The conditions are old. Buildings crumbling, mold, heat that don't work in winter, and AC that don't work in summer, plumbing that backs up, cells that flood. This ain't some shiny, modern facility I'm describing to you. This is a falling apart, rotting compound built in the middle of nowhere on purpose so the city ain't gotta look at it. And inside that compound is a culture of violence so bad the federal government had to step in. In 2025, after years of warnings, a federal judge finally took Rikers away from New York City, the whole jail complex, put it under a thing called federal receivership, which means the city ain't allowed to run it no more. A federally appointed manager runs it now. Why? Because the judge found the city in contempt. They had years to clean it up under a consent decree from 2015, and instead of cleaning it up, it got worse. The violence rates, the deaths in custody, the use of force by officers, all up. Worse than when the court started watching. That's what made the judge finally pull the trigger. Think about how bad a place has got to be for the federal government to take it over from one of the most powerful cities in the world. That's how bad we talkin'. In 2022 alone, 19 people died on Rikers. 5 more died in 2025. Some of them killed themselves. Some of them were killed. Some of them died from medical neglect, meaning they was sick, they asked for help, and nobody came. People dying from things that shouldn't kill anybody, just because the system was too dysfunctional to get them to a doctor. And the violence is everywhere. The U.S. Attorney for the Southern District called Rikers a place with a deep-seated culture of violence. Broken jaws, broken noses, broken eye sockets, lacerations down to the bone. Routine stuff. Both officers on inmates and inmates on each other. The drugs flow through the building like water. The weapons, too. Federal monitors have said the staff just stopped doing the job. Showing up late or not at all. Letting fights happen. Letting overdoses happen. Looking the other way because it ain't worth the trouble to intervene. But here's the part of Rikers I really want you to understand. The part that breaks my heart every time I think about it. There was a kid. His name was Kalief Browder, 16 years old, walking home in the Bronx in 2010, and the cops picked him up because he supposedly matched the description of somebody who stole a backpack. Whether he did or didn't, that ain't the point. He never even got a trial. His bail was set at $3,000. His family couldn't pay it, so he went to Rikers. He stayed there for 3 years. 3 years. From 16 to 19. Waiting on a court date that kept getting pushed and pushed. 2 of those 3 years he spent in solitary confinement. As a kid. They eventually dropped the charges. Just dropped them. Like it was nothing. Said, never mind, you can go. 3 years of his life. For nothing. And while he was in there, he was beaten. By inmates. By guards. There's video. It's been online. You can see grown officers attacking a teenager. And the solitary broke something in him that never got fixed. He came home and he wasn't right. 2 years after he got out, when he was 22, Kalief hung himself at his mama's house. That young man didn't do nothing to nobody. The system grabbed him because he was poor and black and walking home, held him for 3 years because he couldn't afford to leave, broke him in a hole, dropped the charges like it was a clerical mistake, and then watched him die. That's Rikers. That's not even the worst story about Rikers. That's just the most famous one. And here's the thing that should make you mad. Kalief Browder died in 2015, and a federal judge just had to step in 10 years later because conditions had gotten worse. Worse. 10 years after the city of New York promised the world they were going to fix it, after Kalief's story made the cover of magazines and made activists out of strangers, after the city literally voted to shut Rikers down by 2027, conditions got worse. They are not closing on time. They might not close at all. People are still dying in there right now while you're watching this. You want to know something wild? The city was supposed to close Rikers down completely by 2027. They voted on it. They promised, they got plans, they got money allocated, and it's almost 2027 and the closure ain't happening. The new mayor inherits it. The federal manager is still trying to figure out how to stop people from dying in there before anything else. The plan is just gone. The promises everybody made after Kalief, they couldn't deliver on them. And the population, like I said, most of them ain't convicted. They are pre-trial, legally innocent, just too broke to make bail. So if you want to know the simplest way to end up at Rikers, it's this. Be poor in New York City and get arrested on a Friday. That'll do it. You might never see a jury. You might never be found guilty of nothing. You might just sit there for years like Kalief did, while the world goes on without you, while the courts forget your name, while officers and other detainees decide whether or not you survive your own innocence. That's the worst jail in America. Not the worst prison, the worst jail. A place where you can lose 3 years of your life, your sanity, and eventually your life, without ever being convicted of a single thing. Where the federal government had to step in to stop the city from killing people. Where promises to shut it down go on for a decade and don't add up to nothing. I'll keep doing these. There's worse stuff out there. Stuff in this country and stuff overseas. But I wanted you to see Rikers, because Rikers tells you something about the American system that don't get said out loud enough. You don't have to be convicted of anything to be destroyed by it. You just have to be unable to afford to leave. That's all I got. Be safe out there. And remember Kalief.